COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, and we are heading toward COP28 in Dubai this year. Alright, as to set the context first, before I starting on the carbon market policy, I think we need to know about the Malaysian Nationally Determined Contribution. We submitted in July 2021, which is our NDC is to reduce economy-wide carbon intensity against GDP of 45% in 2030 compared to 2005 levels. So basically, this is very important because this is part of the Paris Agreement. When all the parties signed the Paris Agreement in 2016, so that will be a commitment, and also there are also uh, obligation that we need to fulfill, which is to reduce our emissions. So this is our target, which is now the updated NDC include the following increased ambition, which the A is 45% of carbon intensity reduction is unconditionally. This target is an increase of 10% from the earlier submission, and the GHG also coverage is expanded from 3 gases to 7. You can read this. Previously, it's only CO2, methane, and nitrogen dioxide, and also now we are already covering many more. Okay, next slide. Okay, just to set the context also, because now we would like to see the Malaysia GHG inventory. This is based on the Malaysian Ford Binary update report we submitted to UNFCCC 31st December last year. Basically, this is would be the latest inventory. We could see that our emission there, including from 5 main sector, which is energy, IPPU, agriculture, WCF, and waste sector. Our emission is 330 million ton as of 2019. But we also have the LULUCF for our sink because we have forests, so negative 240 million ton. So net emission is 115 million ton, which is increased by 40 million from 2016 figures. Okay, next. Okay, this is a chart that showing the Malaysian aspiration of net zero GHG emission at 2050 at the earliest. Everybody, every part of the world already commit to net zero, and we need to know what is net zero actually. So basically, based on the previous figure that we have, let's say in 2019, the emission is 330 million. So for us to become the net zero, the formula is A plus B equal to 0. So that means now for at based on 2019, our emission is 115 million ton. And to achieve 2050, we need to reduce to 115 million to 0. And for information, we in 2004 we already are at net zero already, and even we are negative in 2003, even 2002. So, and because at that time maybe the economy is not so progressive, but after 2004, our emissions already always positive, which is not good for environment, also for the climate. And now we are at 1.5 million ton. So this is basically a figure that we need to think very carefully if you want to talk about the carbon trading or carbon market later on, because at the end of the day we need to make sure that we need to keep some for our country to fulfill our NDC and also our net zero. So NDC is short term, which up to 2030, but for the net zero is 2050. So IPCC just concluded the statistics report, last night. So she mentioned that we need to do more to halve the emission, because everybody we need to do the net zero as soon as possible to save the planet, to stop the global temperature to go up. Because currently, based on the finding from Working Group 1 of IPCC report, assessment report number 6, show that the temperature already go up to 1.09, which is approximately around 1.1 degrees Celsius. So it's already approaching to 1.5. If this is the target in Paris Agreement, where the Paris Agreement mentioned that we need to hold the temperature well below 1.5 degree, and also to to pursue we need for the Paris Agreement to hold temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius and pursue effort to hold the temperature well below 1.5 degree. So these are the tolerance limit that Malaysia, not Malaysia, but for the whole country or the human population that can adapt with the temperature. You could see that a lot of event based on the current temperature that we have, 1.1 degree. There are a lot of rainfall. Even the drought season also is prolonged. Precipitation is increasing. You can see that a lot of evidence that has impact a few countries like Malaysia, and also last year also Pakistan had hit a very big flood, and consequent of that a lot of people have been evacuated, and some of them they have a lot of loss. Okay, next slide.
Okay. Farid, can I just ask you one question? How is
Yes.
it that before the year 2000, our net emissions is actually zero? How did this picture change into, I mean, how is it? Was it negative? Our country, I'm pretty sure, still had industries and cars, back then.
Yes, because the emission at that is not high. You see the trend there, the AG emission in before 2000 is only around 100 million ton only. But our forest cover is more than that. It's around 200 million ton. So that's why our emission is below the negative.
I see. Okay.
You can
Thank
see
you.
the green part. This is a very big chunk of the in the chart actually.
I see. Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, now we talk about the carbon market. So it's very popular now. Everybody is talking about carbon market, carbon pricing, carbon tax, carbon emission trading scheme and whatnot. There's a lot of initiative have been done. So now we just introduce a bit about the definition. Basically, the carbon market, basically it's a platform, either it's domestic or international, to trade emission reduction. We need carbon credit, and then it's allow an entity to offset the emission by purchasing emission reduction made generated by other entities. So under the Paris Agreement, they also Article 6 where give permission for any country to fulfill the NDC by buying the credit from other countries. Each unit being equivalent to 1 ton of CO2, and basic principle is must be real. Of course, we must have some real project carbon, measurable with long-term benefit emission reduction, measured in ton CO2 or per ton CO2 equivalent. And basically, what drive a market scenario is mainly the Paris Agreement implementation. Because previously under the Kyoto Protocol, not much project can be done because the emphasis more to the NS1 countries, basically to transform both public and private sectors, and also country pledge ambitious emission reduction target to meet NDC that I said earlier, that some of the country they state in the NDC they wanted to buy credit. For Malaysia, we don't intend to buy credit. Because we feel that we can do more in terms of mitigation to reduce our emission. And then the third one, of course, the ESG spirit by the private sector is increasing, and also high demand for carbon credit at the international level. Of course, the recent one, there are a few planned by EU, like to introduce CBAM, and also in the airline system, in airline also, ICAO introduced Corsia for international alliance. So this is some of the new treaty and also new element that need to be aware of by most of the private sectors. Okay, next. Okay, why carbon market? So basically, the carbon market have mobilized resource and reduce cost to give country and company to the space to smooth the low carbon transition. It is estimated that trading in carbon credit could reduce the cost of implementing NDC by more than half, by as much as 250 billion by 2030. This is by World Bank. So basically, why they want to do carbon credit? Because some of the country, the mitigation effort require a lot of effort, and also need to do a lot of funding. So let's say for developed country, maybe it's much cheaper if they buy credit from developing countries. So So if they have the money, but the developing country they have the carbon credit. So in the short, they are able to buy credit in the lower cost, then they themselves do the mitigation. This is something from this finding that World Bank produced. Okay, next.
Cik Farid,
Yes.
Ilham here. Just a quick one, just to
Yes.
backtrack a bit.
Mm-hmm.
With regards to palm oil, is it considered as LUCF,
Okay,
making
palm
it
oil is not
positive
regarded
gas
as
emissions?
okay. Palm oil is not are not calculated under our inventory. So basically,
Why?
what entail in the LULUCF, LULUCF forestry. Basically, under forestry, they have the definition. So only some forest reserve, hutan sipang kekal. These are the hutan yang considered under the sing part.
But they are green, right? Palm oil,
Agreed,
because they got
tapi under
this.
the definition,
Right.
they are not considered as part of the forest.
I
But
see.
we agree that there are some positive on the carbon stock inside the palm oil. Even some party estimated that we still palm oil still have I think around 40 ton per hectare for the carbon stock.
Lagi satu, when the Paris Agreement was drafted, right? Are there any advisors or inputs from the Asian countries per se, from Malaysia or Indonesia, who when they drafted the Paris Agreement
Yes, of course,
in order
because
to set the
Paris
parameters?
Agreement, you need consensus from all countries actually.
Understand.
Because Paris Agreement has been discussed at COP in Paris, even before in Paris also. That's
So
why
it's not a one-sided for
no,
the
no, no, it's
Europeans and
not.
the
But
and the
of
and the
course, there are a
US.
lot of debate
Okay.
from developed and developing countries because,
So it's well
uh,
represented. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
well represented.
Thanks.
Even if in one country it doesn't agree with any tax, so the tax must be amended. For instance, like the decision in COP 26 in Glasgow. So there's one portion there they wanted to do like phase out the coal plant. Tetapi at the same time, India they make intervention that they don't agree with the word phase out.
Mm.
But alternatively, what they agree is to phase down. So based on that, the tax the tax by the what call it, the host country is to face down instead of face out. Face down
Okay.
is not so ambitious, but still has some way lah basically to reduce the emission compared to face out
Okay. Terima
because
kasih,
the
Cik
for
Farid.
yeah.
Okay. Please proceed. Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Hello, Assalamualaikum, Cik Farid, one here.
Salam, yes.
Can we go back to the LULUCF chat tadi? This is in regards to extension to the question yang Ilham tanya. So basically, if you look at kita punya GHG emission from the land, macam from the 90s to currently, kita punya emission has basically been stable all these years lah kan. So does it mean that our forest has not been in any way reduce because you said palm oil is not considered as one of the LULUCF
Betul.
positive emission. So maknanya kita tak berkurang ke hutan-hutan kita all these years?
Oh, berkurang. Kalau tengok
Ha.
boleh tengok report detail, sebenarnya dalam report yang sebelum ini, BUR ketiga, our emission, our sink part daripada LULCF actually 240 juta tan. Tetapi in 2019, yang tu based on 2016, 240 juta tan. Tetapi di bawah 2019, so dia punya figure tu actually dah reduce ke 2014 tan. 214 tan. 214 juta tan. That mean dah ada reduce because land use and forestry maksud dia land use ialah guna tanah, pertukaran guna tanah. Maksud dia some of the hutan simpan tu dah diguna tukar status. Maksud dia maybe untuk pembangunan lah. Maksud dia some tu mungkin untuk buat perumahan ke, maybe some of the area maybe kena buat jalan ke ataupun buat airport dan sebagainya. Ini ialah antara punca-punca yang menyebabkan hutan simpan kita ni berkurangan lah. Some ditukar status from hutan simpan di gazette. So indirectly kita report kita based on the report yang dikeluarkan oleh kerajaan negeri lah. Kerajaan negeri yang kontrol semua hutan. Jadi hutan ni akan akan ada sentiasa berubah lah dia punya figure dia. Sometimes dia naik, sometimes dia turun. Kalau dia gazette balik, dia akan naik balik.
Yalah, maksud saya figures kita dalam range 200,000 tan, tak between that level lah. So dia tak, all this years dia tak ada berkurang. Maknanya
Ada berkurang. Macam saya sebut tadi tu. Dalam
Yelah,
3 tahun tu ada
orang-
berkurang.
tak banyak lah. Maksud saya range kita masih ada minus 200,000 tons lagi
Yes,
lah kan.
yes. Within
Yeah.
200,000 lah. Because kita masih lagi ada pledge untuk kekalkan hutan kita lebih 50% kan. Jadi kalau based on the figures sebelum ini, kita punya figures forest dalam 54%. Yang terbaru lebih kurang 53.9%. Ada sedikit pengurangan. Tapi we still dalam 50% ke atas lah. Itu yang kita punya pledge kita semasa di Rio submit dulu. Di 1992 yang menghasilkan 3 convention inilah.
I see. Okay. Alright. Terima kasih.
Alright, okay, next. Okay, next. Okay, ini ialah actually some of the national application under protocol dan Paris Agreement. Kenapa saya fokus ini? Kerana di bawah Kyoto Protocol saya sebut tadi, belah kiri itu no application on under Kyoto Protocol, no legally binding emission reduction target. So participation market mechanism is masa itu is only CDM, clean development mechanism for the countries. Where in Malaysia we have a few project, 143 registered project with 20.3 million credit generated lah between 2016 and 2016. And of course after the why it is so not successful, because after 2016 there will be new Paris Agreement introduced, so the demand for credit for CDM is already reduced. And then go to Paris Agreement, we have every country has national commitment to Paris Agreement, which is NDC, Economic Emission Reduction Target, where this also cover all the sectors lah, main sector. Macam saya sebut tadi, we have energy. Of course, all the country they have the big emitter from energy, which is consist from 3 main subcategory, which is from power sector, power generation, and then for transportation, yang kenderaan yang kita gunakan untuk penggunaan sama ada kereta, lori dan sebagainya, itu yang menggunakan emission. Dan juga oil and gas. Oil and gas is from the oil exploration lah, when we injected in the oil rig to come out, or in the oil well to get the oil. So basically the oil come out together with CO2 lah. And then dia also under Paris Agreement ni pun ada reporting. Ada BTR, Bundle Transparency Report starting in 2024. So including achievement NDC. Ini akan di-track. So I mean Paris Agreement ni lebih stringent, that's why everybody is so serious about implementing the NDC, and also to get the credit to be to reduce lah basically. Also need to have some review, and also under Paris Agreement also they also have Article 6 which is 6.2 for the government, and 6.4 for the private, basically to replace the CDM. And then Paris Agreement also need to communicate long-term low emission development strategy, LTLAP, which is mainly normally we know about the net zero plan. Okay, next. Okay, this is a big about the VCM. Basically, in December 2021, CASA at that time produced a VCM guideline to give guidance to entity who wanted to participate in VCM lah, vertical market. So basically, gist of it is basically we need people who wanted to participate in VCM to register to basically at that time to forestry, and non-forestry to CASA at that time, and then forestry to masa tu to CASA lah, and also CASA, and then starting 2023 need to report to NSCC for both lah. Tapi those who participate in Bursa, then Bursa will report to us lah on the project project under supervision of Bursa. Okay, next. Okay, this is about the mandate on voluntary carbon market. Okay, Cabinet on 17 September 2021 mandated CASA with MOF and other relevant parties to develop national carbon pricing policy, including domestic emission trading scheme. So at the time also in 2021, Malaysia published national guidance on international VCM and downloaded at CASA website. And then using mandate from Cabinet in 2021, Malaysia Stock Exchange Bursa Malaysia developed VCM platform. So the platform will utilize international VCM standard to support green economy transformation in Malaysia, and this platform has been launched on the 9th of December 2022. I believe that there are many of participants here already participate in this, and this is the media released by the Bursa Carbon Exchange BC Act, where they managed to auction about 150,000 Vera certified unit VCU cleared with oversubscription of GTC contract. Interest from 15 local buyers with strong representative from the financial sector. It's good to see that there are many companies involved in this auction and buying the credit, and glad to hear that mostly from financial sector, and not mistaken, I'm investment also one of the party that buying the credit. All right, I believe that there will be more credit to be trade in BC Act later on after the first session that they had, I think, on last week in 16 March. Okay, next. Also, basically, overall policy coverage on carbon market would be like this. So for the carbon market, basically they consist of two, which is the first one is international. International, uh, they come first from the domestic. So international is covered by three, which is one is compliant carbon market under UNFCCC. So I mentioned earlier is about the standard according to UNFCCC decision under Article 6.2 and Article 6.4. Some of the decision has been made on Article 6.2. 6.2 is more to G2G. Now we also got some call that request from some of the country to have cooperation on carbon market. And Article 6.2, there's a few issues to be out, this to be concluded as well in Dubai this year. And then we also have other compliant carbon market. I mentioned earlier, we have also international aviation under the CORSIA, carbon offset regulation for international airline aviation. So under ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization, where they also have an offsetting program. What been told by the authority of in Malaysia, they use the baseline for 2019. If any airline surpass the baseline in 2019, they are subject to to pay the penalty, or they need to buy the credit. So this is something that interesting to see, because they also need to buy credit. And then they also had a voluntary carbon market. Of course, they are very famous one, Vera, Gold Standard, Plan Vivo, etc. And for domestic, you have two, which is Bursa VCM platform. Bursa also use Vera, and maybe there are other standard to be adopted by Bursa later on and formulate. There also potential to have domestic emission trading scheme, because some other country, nearby country like Indonesia also has already started the pilot for the emission trading scheme, mainly in the energy sector. So this is for Malaysia is future planning. We are going to do a study later on to see whether is it the one that we need to reduce our emission. Okay, next.
Hi, Encik Farid, can slow down a bit, Encik Farid. A bit too much
Too
to
fast.
digest. Yeah, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, can slow the pace a bit. Thanks.
Okay, sorry about this. Okay, now just to explain about some key principles under policy of carbon market. This is something that we are going to develop. Basically, these are something already in our pipeline, and this to be finalized this year, and this to give more guidance to people who wanted to participate in the market. So basically, role of NRCC as national authority on carbon market. Of course, when Paris government has been established, NRCC now ministry in charge on climate change is the national authority, where we are able to give approval process for carbon project, which have a high quality credit that need to be get approval from the national authority. I read from the left side first. So basically, the authorization process for the carbon credit to meet NDC or other countries, high quality credit need authorization from national authority. So for Bursa Malaysia, so for the credit that buying from the buyer from overseas doesn't need authorization. And then we also need to develop the national baseline. Um, and then the fourth one, development of national limit. So basically we need to know. This is subject to account from LTLAC, long-term low emission development strategy that we are going to develop, because we need to know at by 2050 actually how much credit should be left in the country. So from there we set the limit for the country that to be transferred out. So the limit is that if any project need to be authorized by national authority, so they will see based on the national limit that we already set. And then we also need to develop the national safeguard. Okay, left safeguard mean we need, if you develop the carbon project, for instance, in the for the nature based solution. Nature based solution normally in the forest, I would say that. So normally you want to do the project, maybe the safeguard mean maybe you need to give some safeguarding to the people, maybe orang asli or any people nearby, orang kampung or orang asal di situ. So maybe you can give them some job opportunity, or make sure that dia punya kawasan tu is not untreated. The area for them to give to get some food also tidak diganggu. So these are some of the policy that we need to jaga. And then we need to do the correspondence to avoid double counting. Ini is very important kerana if let's say Malaysia send 100 ton of credit, it's accounting purposes. That means we need to minus the emission from Malaysia. So the country that buying the credit, they need to deduct from their emission. If Singapore buy, so they will deduct their punya emission to 100 tons. And then we also need to do the coordination of the report, where we need to do a few report, like initial report and the information report and regular information in BTR every 2 years. And then we also need to do the coordinate review of process on carbon market. And then on the right side, on policy criteria of carbon project, there are a few things that we need to look into, which is the statutory coverage of carbon project, which is mainly is 5 sector, which is energy. IPPU is industrial process and product use. Mainly what intake inside the industrial process is the industry like cement industry, steel industry, that they have chemical process during the production of the product. This fall under the IPPU. And then the forestry, of course the forestry, we know about the forestry already. And then agriculture, we have a few project macam now the emission come from the paddy planting, because the methane come out, and also from the livestock industry also emit methane. So that are some of the project can be do. And then waste, of course waste, we know that the waste come from the municipal solid waste, from the industry. For the municipal solid waste come from our house lah, basically, that end up at landfill. Maybe a landfill, maybe do some common project. That's something that need to be reduce the carbon from the landfill, for instance, because we know that the methane from landfill is abundant also in Malaysia, because we don't have any technology WTE yet. Maybe if we have, maybe at small scale. So these are some potential that can be done. And palm oil sector also, there are a lot of potential there, like to do the biogas from palm oil effluent, and also from other biomass product like from PKS or palm kernel shell, or from the EMT, empty fruit bunch. And then also the criteria is how carbon project contribute to NDC, LTLAC, and also fast sustainable development. And I also need to develop the baseline development based on the performance based approach. We need to know whether the performance which either if they have two technology, which technology is proven have the good result. For instance, this is about the performance based approach. And then international trading must be based on the national limit. Only a portion could be traded in at national level, and another portion to be contributed to NDC achievement. And then the carbon project does not lead to increased emission within NDC period and consistent with GIG emission accounting. And then the carbon project to contribute proceed to adaptation. So basically, under the NDC 4, so there will be some portion need to be share proceed mean levy lah to adaptation. A few percent need to be to be sent to adaptation fund. So currently Malaysia also actually beneficiary for the adaptation fund is set up during the CDM time. So this will be continue because every country they allocate about 10 million US dollar, and we have secured one project under Ting City. So we have another balance 10 million US dollar to be applied for the adaptation, and also automatic cancellation of credit for global mitigation. So that means you sell your credit outside, there will be automatic collection of few portion. In the second 2 or 3%. So that means if you sell 10 credit, so that means there are few, at least 4 or 5 or 5 credit will be deduct to adaptation fund automatic cancellation. And then the project is to determine whether it's its effect is not covered under the existing policy with finance and technology transfer. Okay, next.
Excuse me, Encik Farid.
Yes.
Yes, I'm Asimah from Sirim. Just asking about the role of the approval process. Is it the role similar to the as carbon unit operator, or this is the additional approval process required for the company to trade their carbon in the Bursa or everything?
Oh, actually like this. Basically in Bursa we don't need you don't need to send to us actually. If the project need to have authorization, then we need to go on this process. Authorization mean this credit to be buy and this to be used by the NDC of the country.
It means that it means that the company, if they want to do the carbon credit projects, so it means that for the trading part they can go directly to Bursa, and if they want to like declare and been calculated included in the NDC, so they need to report to NREC. Is it like that?
Yeah, correct. If
so it is
I give you for example, okay, company A in Malaysia sell via Bursa and the buyer is from Singapore. Say Temasek buy the credit. So if Temasek want to use it for the company, then doesn't need authorization. But if this credit to be used by Singapore for the NDC, then they need to request for authorization.
Right, understood. So basically, for the project, if they want to go to Bursa by themselves, so they don't really mandatory to follow this approval procedure, right?
No.
Thank
Because
you.
in Bursa we already under the rule of procedure, they also mentioned that the buy credit is not to meeting the NDC of the country.
So how about the local operator that issues the carbon unit? So for the moment is it Vera, or we need to go through Vera, or still open for the other standards for the other operators?
Actually, if you go, I think for the Bursa one, you have to ask Bursa. But for open market, it depend on your buyer. Basically, if buyer from us also can accept gold standard, then it's up to you to use which standard you want to go.
Sorry, how about the local market? So it means that is there the existing platform for them to get the issued units? For the voluntary domestic carbon emission trading between the companies. So can we use this process from NREC, or still we need to go through Bursa, through like Vera or other standards?
You mean from company A in Malaysia to company B in Malaysia?
For local only, they don't want to. To trade this to Singapore. Between the locals company.
Oh, that one is outside
A and B.
Bursa. Then if you want to do the carbon project, you can also follow the guideline that we submit. We already come out.
All right. So we don't need to acquire this approval.
No need approval, but normally in the report in our guideline, you need to basically notify us lah. Basically, you are doing the carbon project.
Okay. Thank you.
Alright. Okay. Okay, this is my slide basically actually. So after you can still ask a few questions. So basically just I mentioned earlier part. So Android already in the process of the producing a carbon market policy. So hopefully we will launch it by end of this year. So basically this market policy, carbon market policy will give more guidance on, also give ketetapan dasar lah on the carbon market, on what do and don't that we allow in these countries. And then we also will develop our long-term low emission development strategy at TLAT, which is very crucial because this also will determine our limit. And also after that we will come up with a study to come up with the limit that we allow for Malaysia. Maybe we allow some for trade internationally and some will retain in the countries. And then the third is the development of Climate Change Act, a very hot topic also. It's been discussed many times, also a few times in Parliament, where we also need to know whether we will introduce some measures for the JG reporting, for instance. From there, maybe we can start, like there are a few studies also ongoing, continuity from there on the domestic emission trading scheme under rancangan Malaysia ke-12, because there are few emission trading scheme quite successful in some other countries to halt the emission. So we want to see whether these are some of the um, scheme that we could introduce in Malaysia later on. And they also, of course, will relate to climate change act, whether if you want to have the emission trading scheme, it must be regulated, and maybe climate change act will be the act that will be regulate of the emission trading scheme. And the last one is a carbon tax feasibility study, will be conducted by MOF with the support from World Bank. So we hope that with all this effort, we are able to help the industry basically on how to deal with carbon market in Malaysia. I think that's all from me. With some little time that we have here, maybe we can have some more question or any other query you may ask me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Encik Farid. Yeah, I open the floor for anyone who has any questions. We have about 10 minutes left. Feel free to ask.
Hi, Encik Farid. Thank you so much for the sharing. This is Iwani from PNB. Just wondering, in terms
From
of
where?
the government's PNB, Pemulihan Nasional
PMB.
Berhad.
Okay.
Yes, correct. So wondering, moving forward, in case I missed this, would it be a requirement for companies to declare their carbon emission?
Okay, thank you for the question. So this will be conduct. We will combine a study on the Climate Change Act. So the requirement whether any company need to report the JJ emission, this may be will be determined in the Climate Change Act. If let's say, as an example, now we are developing also under in the RCC developing EECA, Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. This also require the company who emitted more than 3 million kilowatt hours within 6 months need to report to ST and Commission. So I would see maybe it could be one of the possibility that we will see what the threshold that maybe if preparation for Malaysia is wanted to implement emission trading scheme, there must be a baseline first. So maybe maybe there will be some sort of GIG reporting, maybe will be introduced later on, but maybe not too soon. I would say that because everybody need to be ready first. That's why if you wanted to implement any carbon pricing mechanism, you need to start at a small scale first. We need to report first. So I cannot confirm yet, but it depends on the study later on. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much.
Any other questions from the floor?
Yeah, Encik Farid, Khairuddin here.
Ya, Cik Karudin.
Yeah, just to understand, coming back to Encik Ilham's question about palm oil plantation. oil palm plantation. When was the last study to say that the palm oil plantations are not actually Lulu or the
PCF for
yeah
forestry.
yeah.
Actually, all the guideline is come from the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So we use 2006 IPCC guideline to calculate what are the category fall under the LULUCF, and what other category under LULUCF have two. One emission, one is the sink part, because they also have the emission from the LULUCF. So you can see the 2006 IPCC guideline. You can Google je. Boleh download from the IPCC guideline tu.
But there are
So
recently companies are approaching oil palm plantation to buy, especially the China actually.
mm,
How is that so?
oh, that one you have to be careful on that. Even we also receive apa nama, a few request also from some of the plantation companies. They also want to buy the pokok getah as well, ladang pokok getah. so so need to be apa nama, careful on this, because you see that kalau you nak tengok projek carbon ni, basically you must be the what call it, the basic thing that you need to have is additionality. Additionality mean you have to know is there any potential of carbon reduction for the project. Contoh, if a company contohnya in palm oil for instance, you use maybe you use electricity for instance, and then you use what call that, macam ada you ada steam from the apa nama, you punya plant industry process tu, dalam sawit tu maybe you dapat some power daripada biogas for instance. If you can differentiate, contohnya that project tu, maybe kalau you tak guna biogas tu to power your electricity, your emission maybe 100 ton, tapi because you use the biogas, your emission become 80 ton. So 20 ton is the additionality that you have already in your plant. So that can be do for carbon project, because you have evidence that you have some reduction from your carbon project. These are some example of that.
So because oil palm plantation, I mean, generally you've got two components. Like one is the plantation itself, and then one is the processing.
Betul.
Definitely, the processing will emit more carbon emission lah.
Betul.
But the plantation side, although we do have fertilizer kind of thing, but would that be something like something feasible to study on the just the plantation itself as a
Normally, if
positive?
plantation itself, for my personal doesn't have carbon market what call that, potential lah.
I see you
But
have not
if
seen
some of
any
the
lah.
project, some of the what I may understand, that some of the plantation, some of the palm oil ni is located at peatland. So some of the peat is located, banyak the carbon kat situ. So there are
Yeah.
some of the project that can be do within the peatland lah. But need thorough study on that lah. But it also depend on the standard what you're going to do. If let's say your standard provider say that this can be do for carbon project, is please do so. But if the standard provider don't have any mechanism to do that, and also because you have to pay them, so if you are able to pay them to do the verification, is by all means you can do that.
Okay, understand. Right. Thank you.
Okay.
So, hi, Jeffrey. I mentioned here from mBank. I want to ask, is there any restriction for a local Malaysia company to buy carbon credit that they source from voluntary market overseas?
No.
So they can buy from anywhere to offset the emission
Yeah,
locally?
you can buy. Yes.
Okay. Will Malaysia eventually become a compliance market?
Actually, for carbon market, I mentioned is 6.2 and 6.4. So basically, form 4 actually to replace the carbon clean label mechanism. So it's a compliant market. But it depends on the because this is not ready yet and the 6.4. So if the 6.4 is ready, then you are able to do so also. But here basically what the market has now is multi voluntary carbon market,
Mm,
just like Bursa has now.
okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Maybe I can just follow up, Encik Farid, with that question regarding voluntary carbon credit. I know it's all voluntary, so it's up to the companies whether they want to do it or not. But what is the process for Malaysia moving towards something that is more mandatory in nature, where you are moving towards carbon tax? How far are we away from moving towards that direction, and which will have a huge implication for all companies actually, or at least bigger companies?
Yeah, that's why you can see in the slide there. So basically, carbon pricing consists of two normally, which is carbon tax and so ETS. So some of the country they use carbon tax, like Singapore. So any company permit over 15,000 ton as a, mean 15,000 ton. 15,001, the 1 ton is considered the need to pay lah. Basically, 1 ton $5. So for Malaysia, we are still doing the study basically. Just started actually the study on the carbon tax, and also we also will comment on the study on the domestic emission trading scheme. So whether we want to implement this, we have to see outcome of the study, because we need choose which one is best for Malaysia, like GST as SST. So they have the benefit, they have the pro and con lah. If you want to use this, for me personally, I would see that emission trading scheme is more flexible. I would say because let's say for emission trading scheme, it just like you have the quota, for instance, like macam one company maybe your quota is 100 ton, so beyond 100 ton you have to buy, or maybe you have to, let's say you have another company that the quota is maybe less than the quota that the threshold. So they can pay from the company, and then you can get the what call that, maintain your threshold. It is flexible, and so you can buy credit as well. But for carbon tax, it's only if you surpass your threshold, then you can need you are able to buy lah, basically to pay the tax to the government lah, and not so flexible on this.
Okay. Yeah. Are there any other questions from the floor?
Hi, Encik Farid, Iwan again from Pengelolaan Nasional Berhad. Just wondering, so is like following up from Alat's question on the long-term carbon market policy. So in the short term, what can we expect from the government, especially in terms of addressing carbon reduction, especially to targeting companies? Yeah, so from the point of view of government, because we understand the carbon tax as well as the carbon market are still feasibility studies. So apart from this, like what are the short-term measures that we can expect?
Of course. Currently, as you can see, a lot of company already do the pledge on net zero, for instance, and we also support all the macam multinational companies, when even company yang related investment in government also. You gelik kan government link investment company to do so as well. If you, I don't know whether, I think PNB already come up with the sustainability plan recently, right? So I believe that if the company also have the similar cascade down, I believe that maybe you have your own plan, macam for your voluntary lah, basically, because you as the moment we don't have any, we call that the stick lah, between carrot and stick lah, stick or regulation that force any company to do the carbon emission reduction plan. But of course currently with the spirit of the ESG and also other sustainability effort by Bursa and others measures. So maybe it's good if the big company like PNB or other company like Tabung Haji or any other company that to do also the call that your effort to do reduction. Even for information, even CASA at that time when we went to Glasgow, we offsetting our travelling on the plane by offsetting it through MFF, Malaysia Forest Fund. Because Malaysia Forest Fund, they have forest carbon offsetting and forest carbon certificate FCC, where you can offset your emission. Macam hari tu kita pergi Glasgow, we pay around RM3,000 to offsetting our journey to there. So it's just to show that our trip is net zero. So at the same tu, the money can be used for macam MFF, they have one project in hutan simpan Sungai Besi for to preserve the forest there. So this is some of the small contribution that we contribute towards to help our country to reduce the emissions.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks everyone. Yeah. Thanks, Encik Farid. And thanks everyone for joining. There's almost 100 attendees today.
Oh, that's good.
And I think, yeah, I think there's so many questions. And maybe there are other further questions. If you do have questions, do let me know, and I will just I will refer the questions over to Encik Farid lah. But I just want to take this opportunity to thank Encik Farid. He's such a very packed schedule. Actually, I've been trying to arrange for him to speak for us for the past, I think, 3-4 months, and
Yes.
maybe I've now only managed to get a date for him. But thank you very much, Encik Farid. And next Tuesday we will be having another ESG session. This one is by the Malaysian Green Technology and Climate Change Corporation. Right, I think they work very closely with your branch of the government, and the speaker will be talking about how to measure GHG levels and how to set target levels for companies. Yeah, I think that would be more, that
That
is
was
more
for the
specific.
sub-national to the company level,
Yeah,
facility level, I would
correct,
say
correct.
that would be.
Yeah, correct. So thank you everyone for joining, and have a great day. And yeah, so we will forward any of your questions later lah, right? If you do have a follow up. Thank you everyone, and we'll meet again later. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Encik Farid. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Encik Farid. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Alex, for organizing.
Terima kasih semua.
Thank you so much.